Greetings. What are we at? Good afternoon. Hope you've had a good lunch. We're a little bit later because of a meeting that never happened beforehand. Holiday boys back now. My name is Dawes from Visual PR, but we're now here for Optimum Live, episode 8. And this one is about busting, well, I've called it busting the myths of the business plan. And that's really coming from my angle of it blowing my mind at times, and it doesn't need to be as complicated as one might think. The person who's going to make that all become clearer is Mike Blaken. Hello, mate.
How you doing? Okay.
I'm good, thank you. How was your holiday?
Brilliant. Yeah. I switched off from the world. Debbie looked after the phone, turned my own phone off, and just played with the family. It was great. Really good.
Brilliant. No, it's good to see you back. This is one that you've actually recently done a blog post on, the blog actually called Beyond the Business Plan. And I've just sort of like slightly tweaked it a little bit. It's busting the myth because we got a whole number of things to cover on this, including not just for businesses that started, it's relevant for even businesses that are going. It doesn't need to be as complicated. It can help be a signpost to things, a whole raft of things that we're going to touch on. But I want to start with a real buster of a conversation, fairly obvious, but I want to make sure that we're not missing anything. What is a business plan?
So most people would know a business plan when they first set up a business and somebody says, I've got a great idea. I want to do this. And they go, so what's your plan? How are you going to do it? And that could involve, that could be anything from how they're going to source a product that they're going to make or sell, or how they're going to do this, the finances behind it. It's just one section of a business plan. It'll be resourcing, the growth strategy, a 3-5 year plan of how they see the business growing and developing. And it's everything. It could be at year 1, expect to have 2 staff members, and year 4, another 5. It could be anything like that. Whereas, and that's what most people know it as, but actually it could be anything. A business plan could be just something that you look at a certain income stream you've got at your business and go, what's this doing for me? What's the pros and cons? Some people know it as a little SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. It's kind of that, but looking at it and just being a bit more, open-minded about looking at the current year stuff and current position of a business, and not just that thing that you set up when you got this. You wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, got this great idea, you jot some notes down and go, right, brilliant, and that's it. You put it to one side and never look at it again.
Yeah. But equally, it can go the other way. Is that, I mean, you said about this brilliant idea, and I've been guilty of this. Is that you kind of go, yeah, it'll work, and off we go, and I've got the price, and we go, and not really stop and put a business plan together. And we can kind of tick over without it.
Mm.
But I guess the key point from your perspective is that we're leaving ourselves very vulnerable because we don't know what can happen, what could happen, what should happen, what needs to happen even. I mean, you said about the SWOT analysis, and that's a key point. I hadn't really thought about that. And you touched on protecting yourself for the unexpected and things like that.
It's also when you start writing it down, you think you put things go down on paper that you hadn't thought of in your mind when you've been doing it mentally. But also once you got it down, now this is quite prevalent to me. Is that me and my wife bought a business last year for her, and it turned out to be rubbish.
Right.
But we also lost sight 2-3 months after we bought it of why we did buy it and what it was doing for us and what we were aiming it to do. We've done it recently. She just opened a shop, and we suddenly, now the shop's open, going brilliantly. We're like, pressure, do we open more? Do we do this? Do we do that? And then whilst we were away, we sat down and was like, actually, no, the reason we done it at this time of our life with the kids, young kids and stuff, was to be able to do it around the kids. So actually we took it back to, although it wasn't a formal business plan, we took it back to the conversation we had of why we were doing it and how it worked, to remind ourselves that actually, no, it's doing exactly what we wanted to. You don't need to push it anymore and create more chaos. And so that's where these things help, because it reminds you of the conversation you had. But it also, by having it down and having those thoughts, is you can run it past anybody else as a second person who's not involved, to go, am I barking mad to do this?
Yeah.
Like this is what it is. This is without me putting any positive spin on the way I deliver it to you. Just read that and just let me know if I'm going crazy.
Or if I missed something, or
And which, if we had done that with one of the businesses we bought, like I've got a friend who is now that person. If I got an idea, I sit with him the same way as I do for him with his businesses, and we just sound each other out.
Right.
But that's why I go to him and go, right, I'm planning to do this. I'm going to do it this way, and what do you think? And you go, what about that? Cheers, mate. Forgot about that. Thank you very much. And it's as simple as that. Like you when you've got a new idea or you've got a journey, you're so passionate about it that you will look for all the positive things. You will forget about some of the things of what if that happens. How will that affect your business? Risk and reward. Like every time there's a risk, you might look at it and go, yeah, the percentage is too small. We don't need to worry about it. I just need to be aware that could happen. So I've got some armor ready for it. Or it could be, if that happens, remember, don't forget that that's the next opportunity that comes along that can really grow it. Yeah. Don't lose sight of what that opportunity is, because you're focusing on the bit that's in your inner circle.
And I think one of the things that resonated with me is that where you were saying, you were saying certain things that maybe don't make the big margin and they tick along, but I don't know, maybe you just enjoy it and it's making ends meet, but it's these areas that make the money. Well, then yes, it's right to still do it, but don't keep throwing resource at it, because that's not the part that's going to make it.
Yeah.
This is the part that almost becomes the funding of the part you enjoy the most, I guess, to some extent.
There's lots of it. You've got it in your own life. There's things that don't make you the money that it should do, but it's the ones that you enjoy the most.
Correct.
So therefore, it's the time that you wake up in the morning and go, yes, I've got this. But you wouldn't be able to have, yes, I've got this, if you're not doing the ones that you go, yeah, sometimes those aren't great, but actually it works. The whole and it's getting the balance again. Is your balance right? Is it and is it covering all what you want to?
And that's easy to lose track of. And I've got a prime example that I had. One of the things you're alluding to is that I'm very lucky. I'm a professional motorsports commentator, which is really cool, really good fun. It's really hard work every weekend doing that around Europe, but it's so much fun to do. But unless you get a golden ticket from Sky Sports, it's never going to be enough with a mortgage, a wife, a daughter, and a dog, and everything, and a car, and all those kind of things.
The transport to get there.
Exactly, yeah. It's never going to be enough on its own. And so I set up Open Doors training, where I provide public speaking, presentation skills, and media training. And I set that up as the one that was basically going to be bringing in some funds with the skills that I've got and experiences that I've had to help people. And it basically was almost funding the lifestyle side of that. And I lost track of that and was suddenly like going, I've got to make this bigger. And it's like, it was never going to be massive, but I started throwing things at it, forgetting where I was at. And I should have gone back to a business plan and gone, No, that isn't necessary. Visual PR that I'm in here now as well, my latest edition, that's a different ball game altogether. And we've got to revisit business plans and all sorts soon and what have you. And that's the key thing about it.
It's having that crib sheet. I sat with a couple of clients before I went away for a strategy meeting, and this whole sort of designing the plan for the business. Now they've done all the work, they've got the plan, they know where they're going. I was there to second guess them. What about this? What about that? And we sat and it was a 3-hour meeting, brilliant, gone through all the stuff. But the key thing they came back to is every time we have this quarterly strategy meeting, they want to go back to the core things of what they're aiming for. Are they on that journey? And it will literally be a piece of paper with 3 bullet points on and goes, that's the plan, that's the journey, that's what we're aiming for. Yeah. Are we going there? And if so, great, we can tick it, we can move on with the rest of it. If not, why not? Why is that? Because that essentially, some other coaches will use different terminology for what that is. It's part of your business plan. That's part of what you're aiming for, that bit on the paper. And so it becomes very important. Again, remind you why you're doing it, remind you where you're going. Yeah. Everyone loses sight of why they're doing it, because once they start that idea, 2-3 years down the line, the whole world's changed. In fact, COVID, we have cost of living crisis, or whatever you want to slap on the last sort of 4 years. Everything's happened. So therefore, the business has changed, the world's changed, your own absolute mindset changed. So is it time to revisit it, to go, actually, what do I want from it now? What do I want? What did I want? What do I want now? Is it still the same thing? It might be. It's just, tick, keep going.
I mean, you talk about the changes, visual PR was born out of something that I started doing in lockdown that suddenly was like, hang on, this is a business in its own right. And I really could have done without adding more work to my work schedule. But sometimes if a business slaps you in the face, you've got to run with it. And it's terrifically exciting and growing. And so that was a change because of COVID for the better, that created ideas. And out of it, we sort of like come up with inspiration and what have you. But then you've got VAT threshold changing, but we've put our prices up because of our expenses went up. That now means that I've gone over that threshold. All these different little things that have suddenly changed what was your business plan 5 years ago.
Yeah. And you might be ticking along doing X, but you can't just do that to survive. And so then the financial elements of the businessman comes in and goes, things are changing.
Yeah.
And it was no, I can't think where I was going to go with that. Now that's just gone. Wing.
That's right. It'll come back in a little bit. But I mean, I guess that's the key thing, is that you've got a framework of a document that you're not starting from scratch every time you go to rethink and have a look. Where are we? What's changed? What needs to change, etc. And you've got a plan. I mean, I've got a note here that says, aren't they long, detailed and complicated to do? And that is spawned from certainly when you start up and you're talking to people for, I don't know, finance or bank accounts or whatever. It seems daunting as hell.
That's generally your first ever experience of business plans, when you set the business and you either go to a finance provider who provides startup loans, or you go to a bank to get a bank account or an overdraft or something like that to enable the growth. And they go, want to see a business plan? You go, well, I haven't really got one. They go, here's my that's right. And they give you this massive template, right? All these spreadsheets to try and link up, right? But that's built for everyone doing £1,000 a month to probably £100 a month as well.
Yeah.
So it's too complicated, but it doesn't. So that is everyone's experience. If it's long, detailed. Yeah. I tried doing it for a grant application for my wife, and their form, and I was like, this is mental. And I just did my own, sent it, it worked.
Really?
Because it still covered it. That's just their template. It doesn't always mean. It doesn't always mean you have to follow it. You can generally go, well, this is actually what I've got. As long as they can look at it and go, yes, you thought about the business and it looks sound and robust, then it ticks the box. It doesn't have to always be in their format. That's what they've got. But you also got to remember that the bankers aren't accountants, aren't coaching, aren't like that sort of stuff. They're all in their own niches. So that it's like me trying to put together a plan for a car. Like, it will come from my type of brain, which will be completely like upside down towards a mechanic. It would eventually still get there, but it wouldn't be necessarily the perfect journey. So it's getting the right people. Like, again, it doesn't have to be. So like, as you evolve, the business plan doesn't have to be long. It could be quite concise. It might be quite a basic business. You buy a widget for 10p. You work on it for that, and you sell it for £1, and you reckon that in your market distribution you can sell so many a month. I'm going to use the Royal Mail to deliver it. I'm going to use Shopify for my website.
Yeah.
There is no big business plan. That's what it is. Like, I've seen a niche in the market because of this. A lot of business plans want to show why there's a niche in the market. So they want you to show all the research or right? Could just be a gut. So that page, those 3-4 pages, it's just down to I feel it's this, right?
And that doesn't put you at a disadvantage necessarily.
I don't think so.
They'll ask for more.
Yeah, they'll ask for more, and it sometimes it's just so blooming obvious that they go, oh, why didn't we think of that as well? Because it is like a simple niche, and some are, there are a lot more detailed. Most clients who come to us, I've got a dozen, I reckon, out of all the ones I've looked after that have had a formal business plan.
Really?
Yeah, most of them just come with, I've got an idea, this is what I'm going to do. But like, it could be anything to a builder, right? What you don't realize is you've still made a business plan in your mind.
Yeah.
Because you've thought of the idea, you've thought about how you're going to do it, you thought what it's going to make for you, and you've gone and done it.
Yeah.
But that thought process is still a business plan. You just haven't put it onto paper and called it a business plan.
Yeah.
But you've still done it. You still thought about it.
Which was one of the other things that certainly stood out for me, is that it's not as big and focused as you might think. It can be just working. But my big concern is, and this probably stems still from the overly detailed ones that they put out there, is an awful lot of assumptions and guesses. Because I've been there going like, I'd like to think that I would be able to do this many a month or whatever it is. No one knows for definite, certainly in the early stages, and yet we've got to put something down on that. And that I find that terrifying as well.
But that starting bit's coming from here. It's just what you think you're going to do.
Yeah.
But also with a lot of self-employed people, this always gets me with the mortgages. They go, oh yeah, but you haven't been doing it for long enough, so therefore your history isn't strong enough. It's like, yeah, but most self-employed people know that they've got to do something to earn the money to pay the mortgage. Yeah. So if it was doing carpentry and they stop their work and they can't get any work in carpentry, now I'm pretty sure most people will not sit there and go, oh, I can't find anything to do. They're going to go, I've got a skill set. I'm going to go drive a van for a month while I cover that. And then I'm going to do that. And it's all different businesses, but I call it, that's self-employed. That's just earning money for yourself.
Yeah.
And you're paying your way.
And
so it always evolves, but it's taken away from that sort of strict rigmarole that people have, or thought process. It's not that. It can be anything.
I was also thinking of this in another way, and it's certainly something I have, is that I know what work is involved with the services that we provide, and I was able to sit there and kind of go, with the staffing levels I have now, I cannot take any more than this many clients on. But if I get to that level and then take on another member of staff, it'll enable me to go that. That means it's like just about breaking even for that, but it will enable me to increase that margin. And you sit at a point that goes, do I justifiably want to grow that team, or am I in the sweet spot now? And you can actually look back and see that sort of stuff. And it also was inspiring me to go, actually, complimentary service that would need another member, but that cost me that much per month, but I'll be able to add this much per month. Definitely need to go ahead and do all of that.
But a little business plan at that point would be, do I employ someone or do I outsource it?
Yeah.
And you weigh up without realizing, you weighing up, right, what's the pros and cons for that? So if I outsource it, a little bit more expensive because they're self-employed, but if I haven't got the work, I don't have to use them.
Yeah.
But the pros of being internal, when I need the work doing, I've got them because they're working for me. But if I haven't got the work, then I'm paying for something that I'm not getting a return on.
Yeah.
So therefore, what's my risk and reward? And it will all naturally come back to the numbers at some point, because unfortunately for everyday life, money does make the world go round.
Yeah.
Right. More for some people, less for others. But it's working out, like, what does it do? And so then you weigh it all up and you go, actually, based on that, I'm making the decision to outsource it, right? That might be the case of 5 minutes thought process.
Yeah.
It might be actually jotting down in your notebook and going, right, this, right. I've got that. I'll put that there so that when I kick myself later, why did I do that one? Like using
Look back.
hindsight, I can look back and go, well, at the time I did this. And it's a big thing that, again, with me and my wife will do is that we try not to let hindsight kick us in the ass when we look back at something and go, if only we had done that, that would have been all right. And we just make sure that when we make a decision, we chat it through and go, this is, based on what we know at the moment, the right decision to do. If 6 months later it turns out to be the most stupid thing we've ever done, which we've done, okay, we've got a few of those, right?
Yeah.
And we do remind ourselves, well, actually, at the time, it looked perfect. So let's
But
just
welcome to the real world.
Yeah, and now we develop it. We move it on for what we got now.
But isn't the key point being, going back to the overriding subject, is that you've got the document, the framework, the thoughts that were in your head at that point to refer back to, to kind of go, right, we had assumed X, but it turned out it was Y. If only we'd known that then. But actually, you wouldn't have even had a context or a concept of what Y was, why is this important, what does it impact going forward. But because you've got a frame of reference from that, it actually
and it could simply be, it's a point that you look back and you go, just give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, it's happened. It hasn't gone what you thought it would do. Give yourself a break, but now pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and off you go again.
Yeah.
And make a new plan.
And here lies a key point that I was about to go on to. You perfect timing for it, is that you're a massive advocate of that. It is not a one and done for a business plan.
No. Is
that it's something that should be probably done periodically. I don't think you commit to a period of time that they should be done. Again, that's going to vary, I'd imagine. But actually also maybe more than one, split them out into the different revenue streams or the different activities.
Yeah, and you can say you have one big business plan that's made up of loads of sub business plans if you want to.
Be appropriate.
Yeah, that's it. And it might be you look at it and go, why am I selling that? And that is to enable this service to come in, or this. And like we have services here that aren't the most profit making services, but without it we would have less of this one. And it's all that. So why are we doing it? We have to then you look at it and go, right, what is that? And you look at the numbers and go, right, what income comes in for that? What's my resource in? What does it make? Oh, it makes that. It don't really make very much. But how much does it contribute over here because it's there?
Yeah.
Like we're talking about networking, different networking groups. It's like on the face of it, you would go, well, that one doesn't make anything for me. But if actually this one over here subconsciously grows because it's had a bit more exposure, then actually you might look at it and go, actually, it's still worth spending the time.
Yeah.
And resourcing it, which is your time, and going to spend it.
Well, and equally, you could have certain things. I mean, I use my motorsport commentary as an example. That we said it doesn't. I mean, it makes reasonable money, but not enough to live off of. But that is exposure that would actually cost someone a fortune to be getting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm actually paying. Sorry, I'm getting paid.
To
do it.
So then, when you would do, if you were to do your numbers, you go but actually, the cost of like what you would like you're saving, you add that on, you go, actually, that's earning quite a bit if the marketing but then if the marketing works by getting a few other jobs in, then you go, well, actually, I can equate that to that.
Exactly. And that was I've had over the years. I've had the odd coach or unofficial mentor, someone being helpful or whatever, and they'd go, well, hang on, how much are you making off your commentary? Oh, well, then you need to sack that off. It's like, one, I enjoy it, and two, the exposure is just amazing for my other businesses. So it's like, I don't think it's as simple as that. But at least I know, and it's why we were able to negotiate prices up, because we suddenly went, look, fuel's gone up, hotels have gone up, food has gone up, and it's like, seriously, we're now at a situation that this is break even, and I'm not prepared to do it for break even because we work hard.
Again, because you're trading not off all your time, the weekends. It's not it's not Monday to Friday.
No, exactly. I mean, the prep is, and then suddenly it's that on the weekend. So exactly. We kind of have to, it did enable me to look at it and go, no, seriously, look, here's the reason we need slightly higher for what we're doing there, and it was successful. But then all the other bits, I mean, I've got a big one at the moment that is, and I'm sure many people will relate to this. And if you're watching, you've got questions or comments, type them in comments to wherever you're watching, because we'll be able to put them up on screen and answer any questions or respond to the comments. But I need to be doing a plan that is not just I want to grow the business. I know we've got that and that's all there, and I want to make it profitable, blah, blah, blah. But I need to get myself working on the business rather than in it, because at the moment I am so flat out that I'm just doing the do, as I say.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help the growth of the business. That doesn't, help at all. But to be able to sort of extract myself from that, I know that I've got to do a plan that says, right, what do I need resource-wise, people-wise, whether outsourcing, employed, whatever? Okay, what's most important? What's going to make the biggest difference? What's actually going to help bring in more revenue from it? So that at which point can I then be guiding this business with people doing the work?
But it's also important to go that you're aiming for that, but actually to analyze that as a role for yourself, to go, is that actually a role that does actually tick all the boxes for you?
Yeah.
Because if you naturally for accountants, you as you grow and you become a partner, you do less of the doing and you do more of the oversight and just like doing the meetings and the bits like that. But actually, as a geeky thing, every now and again, I do love to crunch a set of accounts and pull some management accounts and do some stuff like that. One, because you feel in touch with the numbers, but two, it keeps everything working well in your head.
You can't say, back in my day, I knew what I was talking about.
And so actually, like, it's working out that sometimes the natural thing is to grow and push stuff, and you get to the top of the parapet. But actually, if the top of the parapet isn't something you want, or it doesn't change anything for you, then actually you're aiming for something that doesn't work. So that's where, again, coming back and putting down on paper. And to be open and honest, like, I've been doing it this morning, working with our coach that we got, just going like, what are these things? Which are the bits that make it really work for you?
Yeah.
And going like picking like actually that bit. So like a real weird thing for me is that actually for a few days of the year, I'd love just to clear off and go drive a tractor for a day.
Yeah.
Right? That would just mean the world to me.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to do it 365 days a year, so no one panic on that bit. But like actually to disappear for a few days and go sit and do 14 hours going up and down the tractor would be actually bliss for me, because that's part of me.
Yeah.
And that's so therefore my business plan as a personal one is to do some certain things to enable that. And then as here as Optimum, there are 5-6 of us as partners that we got to work out if all of our business plans come together to make one big one for the company that works.
Yeah.
And so it all feeds in. And you I think what people don't realize is I call it a business plan. It's probably just a cliche word, but actually it's that thought process, that like sort of just thinking out where you are.
Yeah.
Does it all join up? And where do the puzzle pieces don't fit? What can you do about it to make them fit? And because it like life and business is puzzles.
Oh, absolutely. Because even as you were explaining that, I was there thinking, well, yeah, you were touching on personal business, personal plans. And that is not just as an individual, but then as a family. Okay, well, at this point, when our daughter finishes that school, we would like to be able to move to this kind of house, and we'd like to do this, and we'd like to get her that, and And so you've got those plans. So I guess it's the same thing, is that what we're talking about here is don't be scared by the business plan. It's not as committal. It's not as detailed necessarily. Certain things might, but then you can do it. And I know that you guys are on hand to help if there's suddenly something that requires a real roll your sleeves up. We need to get really detailed. You guys can interpret the numbers.
And that's when it really drives in the financial element of a business plan. That's what you want to do your forecast and the plan. And we talk about it time and time again, of making sure that the business does what it wants for you financially. Sometimes it's grow. Actually, someone's going to look at the business and go, actually, my business plan for 3 years is to grow it as big as possible. Like for you saying, to then sit yourself at the top so you don't have to work in it. But for 3 years, I'm accepting to do it. But it's important to know that when you're 18 months through that journey and you're going, oh, this is blooming tough.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we're still on this journey to getting where I'm aiming to get to. But other people might be actually going, actually, I'm trying to prove that I'm not part of the business. And we talked about sort of selling and potential exits before, and going, actually, I'm trying to show that I'm not part of the business, so that in 3 years' time, I can go, anyone want to buy it? It runs itself.
It's not relying on you.
And again, it will change. So like, especially with, you hear all the stories at the moment. I've unfortunately got a couple of clients that have been caught by cancer now. Their things will change. And some people, it might be a journey that means that they were on for 5 or 10 years, and now it might be a 2-year plan or something like that that's changed. And it's just being right, let's pivot it. What does it need to do?
And I think going back to the key point there is that if you've got those business plans, it's not a problem that they're about to pivot, change. You've got some bits wrong that needs tweaking on it. It's like, yeah, but if you didn't have that to work from, you'd have to be starting from scratch. at this moment in time. And it's like, no, we can actually pivot from that point, which kind of makes sense. I mean, even with what you're saying there is that, yeah, there's that whole, to be able to sell it in the future, you need to make sure that you're not too fundamental to it at the right time, because otherwise it's not really viable.
Or be replaceable.
Yeah, because you need, they wouldn't buy it if it still needs you, and or certainly it doesn't make it that attractive for you, because you're then just owned by someone else or whatever.
Yeah.
But equally, my biggest one at the moment is not that I want to be at the top of the pile. It's more that if at the moment I am literally so busy doing everything that I can't be strategic. I can't go, okay, we can go in this direction, we can open this out, and you need to be able to be free enough to make those decisions and have the oversight to kind of go, right, I see what's working, and actually I can see what's happening there. That will enable us to also offer that as well. I literally do not have the time because I'm doing everything.
I bet the time for you is flying as quick as it is for me. In that you look at it, we're what, 12th of June.
Absolutely.
Right. But the last time I checked, we were just finishing off in January.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a good Christmas.
Yeah. tax season's done. Finished January, and we're just looking up into Feb. Right. And now we're halfway through the year. Right. And that's the thing. So it's sometimes, so like part of a process we have with clients is we do a lot of quarterly meetings where we review the management accounts. We look at the forecast going forward of what it's going to do. But what I've realized over time is actually part of that becomes this strategic stuff where you start quizzing and go, so what are you aiming for? Where are you going? What do you want? What's this? And I always say to people, I'm nosy. I go into the personal life. What is it? So like client in just before I went on holiday, he wants to sell his house to get to a big house because it's really important to him to have the space for the kids that he's got that's growing up, and he needs to do it now. Otherwise, if he waits, the kid's going to be too old to get the real enjoyment of going through that pain of doing it. So therefore, his business had to enable him to do that. How do you do it? Right. So that was his plan. At this moment in time, his business plan was to extract as much money from the business as tax efficient as possible to buy the next house and get the mortgage and deal with all that. Right.
Yeah.
But that meant that the business was fully affected by his own personal decision that he needs to do for his life.
Sure.
Which is normal, right? It's a small business. We're not a big corporate.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's why I'm so intrigued about people's personal lives with stuff, because it will all do it. Someone might be going along going, right, actually, things have happened. I need to grow this as quick as possible, as strong as possible, so I can sell it, cash out, and I'm going to go tour the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And that could be someone who's 28, or it could be someone who's 58. Right. So you can't just assume that someone's at a certain point in their life going, that must be that, because actually people think change.
It's a certain point in their life here and possibly here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what you end up doing is that quarterly meeting that we do becomes right. So what do you want? How do we get there? And we sometimes can direct the conversation and direct the thoughts, but a lot of it will be just that conversation like we're doing now. Go, actually, this, that, that's quite important. I'll pick up on that. We'll aim for that. And we just build this bit, but we create that open atmosphere and sort of comfortable atmosphere to talk it through.
Yeah.
I've got, I don't know, a couple of dozen clients that we have this quarterly chats with that is just this. We've got the numbers of one part. It's not the main part of the accountants. Everyone thinks it's just the numbers, but actually it's what do they mean? What could they do? What is it doing for you? Because if I'm there going, drive that business, look at the opportunities, you got all that, and they go, I don't really care about the money. I've got plenty of people who could probably double, triple their income.
Yeah.
But that will obviously put on more stress, more time, less time at home. They just don't want it. And like other people will say, well, you make the money. No. Like you've got to understand the whole thing and build that plan.
And do you think, this is probably a silly question, but I'm probably admitting this myself now, does it always have to be written down? I'm assuming we kind of need to write something down.
It's easier to have it written down so that you can go back to it, because otherwise you're going back to a thought process, but you'll go back with rose-tinted glasses of what you think you did remember, not what actually there. But written down could be just an email. So I'll take all the notes in a meeting, and I tend now to do a follow-up email and just say, look, these are the points. Shout if I've got something wrong, and then you've got an email. Even if you don't, I try to look at it again. Like when I go to the next meeting, we'll pull it up and go, right, those are the bits. Those are the main bits. Let's make sure we bring that in. Some people won't have a look at it again because once they put it down, they remember it, right? But it's always there. And so I think it's quite important, because you think at the time you remember it, but as you said, right, if you're forcing yourself to come out of that sort of doing part just to work on the business, I'm pretty sure that if it's that much pressure like that, you'll walk straight back into the doing half an hour after the meeting.
Absolutely.
And you forget half of it. So if
It
you can have it written down, like even like I say, an email, handwritten notes on the tablets, whatever it is.
And I tell you what, my wife bought me this book that sits by my bed that's got just wording on the front that says things I thought about while I was asleep, because it helps me to just wake up. And that, I don't know about you, but I come up with so many ideas in the night, and I would stay awake. I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep
Because you don't want to forget it.
Exactly. It's the biggest one. And plus it would then spawn off into other ideas. And it's like, right, just wake up momentarily, write it down, any bullet points to go with it, close the book, put the pen in it, and then go back to sleep, because I'm like, fine, I'm not going to forget it. And I'm going to allow myself to go thinking off of those points tomorrow. And it's all really good. And I guess it's that same thing. I mean, I'm guilty of it, because I can even remember the details now, is that I know a service that I can add to our retainer contracts with visual PR, and I need to take on a particular person, you know, but with a particular set of skills. Sound like I'm becoming taken now. And I worked out, okay, so they're going to cost me roughly this much per month, and I'll be adding that much on per month to the retainer to include that service. I only need 3 retainers to include that, and it'll have paid for that person and everything thereafter. And that's a business plan, isn't it?
That is. You've looked at it. You looked it comes back to the numbers.
But I haven't written it down.
No, but you know about it. You've reeled it off.
Yeah,
you've reeled it off.
Lucky.
And then when you go to put it into practice, you'll be based on that. And that's as basic as it can be.
Yeah.
But it still works. And that's the important bit, is that it still works. It's that making you do the thought process. You said about the book next to the bed. I email myself off my personal phone. I email my work phone. Coming in the morning, I could have 4 or 5 emails in there, and when Debbie's covering, she's like, "What was this about?" Like 3 o'clock in the morning, it'd be some garbage message that I've written to myself, and I'm like, "Oh, that was this. I thought if we could do this, or I've forgotten I need to speak to this client, so I'll write that note in there." Like, so we're all doing it. Brilliant. It's just in different ways.
And it is important, because those spontaneous thoughts are, whilst we are working on our business, or we hear something else, or we see some figures, it could be a degree of panic where things maybe haven't gone right, and you sort of, I found when I lost a couple of clients, well, they were linked, 2 clients linked together, and natural, nothing wrong. They just got to the end of when they were doing this, and I suddenly went, "Oh my gosh, that's that much per month." That was probably the most creative evening and following morning that I've ever had. So that by mid-morning, I was buzzing, absolutely buzzing, because
you take that, what that thought was really negative, into a real positive drive.
Because it forces you to be creative. It forces you to come up with ideas, and suddenly, even down to some basics of rewording the marketing message for our service, or little things that could be added on that were complementary, or understanding that actually half of my problem is this, so I need to overcome that with our clients, and it will keep everything tickety-boo.
I always think the most creative, the most efficient in your thinking is when a self-employed person's got the back against the wall.
Yeah,
something's happened. The right-hand person's just said, "I'm not offer you thought you could never survive with." And you go, "Oh," and you go through that first bit, you like go mad, and then and it tends to be, "Oh, let's go have a cuppa," sit down, go, right,
breathe.
But actually, like last couple of months, I've had a few of them. Their right-hand person has said, "I'm gone," and they've suddenly realised, actually, this is the best thing that happened for us.
Can be,
because you felt so reliant on that person. You took them away, and they're like, "Oh, it's actually okay. We just do this," and it's, again, having that confidence to say, if you've already been thinking of the business, when that happens and you get over that initial factor, you sit down and you're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get out of this hole, and this is how we're going to drive forward. And actually, the outcome looks pretty good now.
And I think this is the key thing that I'm really gleaning from originally your blog post, but equally this conversation is, don't think that you are committing 100% accuracy to this. You know, there could be some best guesses in there, and that's still okay. Obviously, the utopia is that they're 100% accurate, but even that would be 100% accurate today.
Yeah.
And it's okay just to get something that gives you some kind of clarity, some kind of vision, some kind of goal. And I mean, one of the other points that I've got coming up next is about from that you can set KPIs, key performance indicators.
Yep.
Which again sound really scary because I automatically think that they're overly granular, but they don't need to be.
No, they could be number of new clients this month. You
Mm.
might go, actually, if I get one new client every month, it all adds up to the end game at the end of the year, meaning that you've got 12 more than what you had at the start of the year on a running 12-month basis.
Yeah.
And it could just be you sit down, look at the month and go, did I make a new client? That's just a single figure. It's a yes, no, how many, or a single number or double-digit number, right? It could be as simple as that. Again, KPIs all mean different things. I know I can run of our business 2 reports, and I can look at those, and I can generally tell what the bottom line is going to be for a month. And you got 25 staff, all things changing. I can look at 2 numbers, and for the way I interpret numbers, I can work out what the bottom is.
Wow.
But again, John works in a different way. Hannah, Rob, they all work in different ways, so they can't do it that way. But they'll do it another way that doesn't work for me. But again, that's technically a KPI.
Yeah.
If I see that and that, does that equal a green flag over there? Yeah. And it could be all sorts of things. Like construction client we've got, they look at what their order book is. If their order book goes up, that's really strong, it actually becomes a traffic light where that's an orange or a red, because it's actually the hidden thing is with the order book going up, does that mean they're not servicing enough in the current month? So therefore, the current month's gone. You were expecting to do 250k, but you've only done 100k, and it's all pushed. It's all right. It's still there, but you can't push your wages up with the next one.
Yeah.
Your wages still go out this month, so actually make a loss, even though you got a massive order book.
Yeah.
And what does that do? Is there a cash flow knock on? So it's all those little things that have become very, very bespoke for a business.
Yes.
And so those KPIs could be anything.
I mean, that was resonating again with me. There is that I even for this business, for visual PR in particular, which was new for me, was that I could actually see a KPI would not just be the number of clients I've got. I mean, I guess it would, not as in I'm aiming for infinitum, because I know that there is a break point with the resources that I have, both internally with obviously growing the internal team, and I've got some outsourced partners. It's like kind of, I'll go above that, we start creaking, and
you start letting people down.
Exactly,
and therefore
go like a deck of cards.
Growth becomes a hindrance.
Correct.
So and it's knowing when that point is, and that's then part of your plan.
And that's the joys of the scale up challenge that we have. Is that I remember having this conversation with you. I always thought that it was the real stress in business is when it's not working, and I've since found, actually, I think it's even more stressful when you're in that scale up phase, because I'm there going, right, I need more to grow the business. I need more people and space, but to afford more people and space, I've got to grow the business. So you're kind of going like this, and it isn't just like, right, let's go and get countless new clients on board. It's like, no, we categorically cannot do that. Where is that bright point? We can go right now. I need someone else. That means I need to be lining up some more clients to justify that. And it's an interesting challenge.
And that, again, like understanding the plan, if you're talking to a client and going, I'm going to scale it. So I've got one at the moment, you go between 1 and 2 million a month sort of turnover. But actually understanding that, I know where the weaknesses are with that. Yeah. And therefore the things to be wary about. He might not have thought of that. I have. So therefore, when we're talking about this plan and understanding his journey, I can go back and go, right, these are some traffic lights we can put in. Are we okay or are we not? And again, that's why it's important. Like, that's why I love the businesses who actually want to get involved in working with an accountant. Yeah. Because you meet the perfect client for me is someone I work with quarterly, do some numbers, sit down, and their business that doesn't want to naturally grow massively or be huge or something like that, but just someone who just has got something going on in their business that they want. They've got a journey. They've got an end game to aim for. Yeah. Because then you can help them get to that. And when they get there in 2 years' time, you go, look at that. I helped you out there. Well done. Off you go. You've done what you needed to have a great time. Yeah. And it could be just getting to a point that goes, yeah, I'm making some good money now, or it's, I'm going to flog it now and I'm going to go off to the Caribbean. Yeah. Great, whatever. And I really do enjoy that part of the journey of being on it.
It always has been. You've always loved the startups and the scale ups, haven't you? It's definitely been a personal passion. I mean, I was even one of the other reasons why I know that I need to be sort of putting these plans in where I can get people on is not just to suddenly be working on instead of in, but there are things that I do in the business because I have to, and I'm good enough at doing them. But if I can grow the business and get people that excel at those particular individual tasks, whereas I just can do them well enough, that's what enables the business to grow even further. But of course, I can't afford that skill.
No, and it's
from the get-go.
It works. You look at your opportunity cost.
Yeah.
So if you can't go and if you haven't got anything else to go and do, then actually there's a point where it's not worth paying for it. It might take you 3 times longer than paying somebody else to do it, but you're free at the end of the day. As a business owner, you're free.
Yeah, true.
Right? Okay, so if you can do it for free and it doesn't stop you doing something else, but it's the point when you go, I'm going to spend 3 hours on that. But in that 3 hours, if I wasn't doing it, I could earn that, but I'd have to pay that. On what I could earn is more than what I pay out for the bit to do it because they can do it 3 times quicker.
Exactly.
Tick, 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 tick.
And I've found as well is that I've said that I got a mix of outsource and growing the internal team. Is that an outsource on one particular thing was that they did that job. That for me was done. Right, there you go. There's another one. Can you get on with it? And then the invoice when it was done. Whereas I've now managed to employ that is doing that because it's within their speciality, but is there internally, so is able to do these other things related around it as well, because they're in there. And so it's like now was the time to take that on and go grow that side of the business, but
just push more and more away from you to enable the next things to go.
Absolutely. And I love the phrase, if I'm the smartest person in the room, then I've employed wrongly. So that's like I'm playing around with those things at the moment, but it is this business plan. Okay, KPIs. We've then got watching effects. We've touched on it already where margins might be getting squeezed and you kind of go, right, do we need to go and look at new suppliers? Do we need to negotiate new prices for that? Do we need to up our prices? Then, as we touched on earlier, is that can lead on to a number of other things where we also then have to say, yes, but that now takes me into this level of VAT, of corporation tax, of this, of that, of the
it's
other.
Just and again, it's just understanding all the knock-on effects of doing a decision. And some of it you just do naturally. Sometimes you have to pen it out and work it out.
Yeah.
But they're still both technically a plan. You're planning it, you're understanding it, you're thinking it through. And it's just different. One of them you got something to come back to. The other one you go, actually, I remember a little bit of that thought process back before, but I've slept since.
Yeah, quite. You make a comment as well in your article about identifying and protecting from areas of risk. Is that? I guess that is genuinely possible to do. Loosely speaking, I guess.
Like every business has some form of risk.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's one of the risks for your business is what if you can't work? You're the main cog of the business.
Yes.
So if you can't work, what happens? It's not necessarily a risk of a competitor doing something or a new startup taking over your industry. It's and it could be all sorts of different risks. So yours could be that, like ours could be like regulation changes. What if that changes? Can we what happens to the amount of work we've got to do behind the doors to do this?
Yeah.
What about other startups, other movements of staff? If we it's all those sort of risks, and it's sitting down and it's taking a view of being negative and going, right, what's all the things that can go wrong? But then, like what we said before, spinning them into, right, that's an opportunity. Actually, most downturns in businesses and economies and stuff creates massive opportunities for people, right? And there's some businesses that grew out of COVID, it's just mental because there was an opportunity, and an opportunity comes from these risks and stuff. So again, going back to the SWOT analysis, doing something like that, like what is the risk, and how do you either protect it so that if it does happen, it's controlled, or and it could be just so a risk of a builder is that they don't get paid, they run into debt and stuff. So how do you protect that risk? Have a limited company, because then it's wrapped up in there, and if it's not your fault that it's gone wrong or something, a customer, and you can't get paid and stuff, like you protected the risk that you've seen of your own life being affected by this, right? So there's that kind of protection, right? You've got it done. Another form of protection is having insurance. If it happens, right, done, right? And it's those risks that you've kind of identified done something about it. You might not realize you've done it because everyone goes and gets insurance, but actually you've identified a risk. There could be something, so we'll have some insurance. Tick. And there's some risks that you will look at. I always remember looking at I worked years ago with an electrical company doing the big installs of housing estates, main grids. And like you look at their business plans and like risk assessments, and the bottom one was always death. There was like, because it was high voltage electric, there was always a risk of death.
Yeah.
And like naturally we would think, well, actually they wouldn't be able to do that. But it's like being aware of it, protecting it. There's only so much you can do to protect certain things, and you put it all in.
Yeah.
But there's always still an element of risk. You could put all the protection in the world, but there's still an element of risk. And then that's when you look at it and go, yeah, I'm still okay with that risk to go and do this business. Or you look at it and go, I'm really not going to sleep well, knowing that there's that little bit of risk. So therefore, that direction isn't right for you.
And do they still have? I'm sure I used to hear key man insurance, something along those lines, because you kind of go, right, in our business, if one of the, let's say, for argument's sake, 2 directors, if one or both of them went, the company's screwed. So we need to have some kind of key man insurance.
You get key man, you get death in service ones, you got shareholder protection. Now, these are ones that you need to speak to your financial advisors about, because there's ones that.
But not everyone would need them, would they?
No, that's it. And like, unfortunately, a client I've had has got cancer, and they've had to call on the shareholder policy. But the idea of that one is that where you've got 2 people or more, that if someone was to pass away, the insurance would pay out to buy the grieving spouse's shares. So naturally, if you got John and Bob dies, naturally John doesn't want Bob's wife, who's just dealing with her husband dying, haven't run the business, because naturally that's what will happen is his shares are transferred to her and you're over here. So actually the idea is that the insurance policy pays out to pay her out. They get the money for the shares, and then he gets to run the business himself, sell it, do whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's, again, that's a risk. You've looked at it. Like, again, part of the decision would have been, actually, what if that happens? Right? Okay, let's put that policy in. So then it's there. Hopefully you never have to use it. But unfortunately, I'm seeing it being used recently for a couple of cases. So it's there, go, what's there? And it's generally it's paid for by the business, and that if you get it set up in the right way. And again, going like those are the ones where you have a conversation with the financial advisor to see what protection you can have if you need it. If you perceive it as a risk you need to protect.
It all makes sense, and it could even be as simple as that you're aware of something, that if you see this happening, you know you need to batten down the hatches or whatever it might be. Final thing then, and I'm able to ask this because I'm independent to you guys, is that I'm sat here as a business owner kind of going, right, yeah, do you know what? I need to have better business plans drawn up. I think I know what I would be doing, and I probably need to revisit it more often than I do. What would I be able to do with Optimum?
So I think the way that the businesses at that point who want to adapt it and change is to come in, let us quote, to do quarterly meetings that includes management accounts, face-to-face chats, obviously discussion through the quarter as well. We'll never stop that, but a specific sit down with a coffee, go through these accounts, and naturally we will talk about things. We will get things out of you without you realizing, because we just like to have a conversation. And then that will build a where you go and what you're doing. And then with that, we put these plans together. It's not a titled business plan. It's just the notes from the meeting, but that is our strategy meeting. And those are the ones where we can help the most. Those businesses that are either growing or have something that's going on that's good in there, that they either got staff, nice big projects going on, we just need to analyze it, or ones that know that they want to come in and go, right, actually, I want to come in and I want to sell in 5 years. They got a definite plan. We can help with those to work out how you get there.
Because I think it is important, and I'm even again speaking from experiences, that I start playing around with numbers and guesses and assumptions out of that, and costs that I anticipate, blah blah blah, and I get overwhelmed. I can get tired just from trying to do it, and I can end up just throwing toys at the pram and just going, I just can't, forget it. It's pointless. Whereas I know I need to do these things. And so to know that we've got, and the other point I was going to make is that we are not impartial.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I said, with me and my wife, we bought it because we saw what we wanted to see, not what was actually there.
Exactly. And I know that you sometimes have to get involved in some pretty tough discussions that kind of goes, guys, you do realise this here, look.
I had one a few weeks ago, and one of them even said, "No, you're like, oh, you're asking some awkward questions." I said, "Yeah, fully intending. At this point in time, I'm not your friend. I'm trying to just create those thought ones. So you do it, have that question, that answer, that discussion now, not when it goes wrong, because it's easier to do it when you're friends rather than down there."
Exactly. So that makes sense. Optimum, you can come, you can have conversations with them, all of that sort of stuff. But you can also do a lot of this on your own. That's the key one that you're saying, isn't it? Is that people can be doing these, and it doesn't need to be death and glory, you know, everything in these business plans, but do a lot more. And it certainly makes a lot more sense to me. I'm bought in, and I do need to write more things down. Not always work in spreadsheets, although Excel lets us do a lot of magical things with it, with equations.
But it could just be, it could be the back of a fact packet. This is the thing. A lot of people, I'm like,
other paper sources are available.
You can send it over. Like, people think, oh, I've got to write it in a nice, pretty way and stuff like that. If you scribble some stuff down on the back of paper and said, look, I'm thinking of this, I can generally interpret it so that I can get what you're aiming for. So then, and because again, got the notepads that makes it easier, handwritten, because I handwrite. I don't type very, like, as well, like sort of handwritten notes. That's where I get the most sort of out of my brain. And if you just, send it over, that's enough. And you just go, look, I'm just thinking of this. What do you think? And it could be just a few minutes. Yeah. What about this? Oh, brilliant, thanks. And it could just be as simple as that, or it could be something a bit more formal and structured.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Well, listen, right, thank you for this one. Hope you've all found it really useful. I found it useful to be involved in it, and some of it is fairly common sense. Some of it is what we're probably already doing, but it's just as important to reinforce that if you're doing it without thinking about it, hey, that's a good thing. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I saw multiple things there as well. It's not as scary as it needs to be, and it's not just a one and done at the beginning of a business. It's something that could be redone periodically. It could actually be broken down into different revenue streams or activities, all those kind of things, and it is worth the little bit of effort. And as you said, it could be just write down on the back of a piece of paper, dump down what you're thinking, and then work it out later, which I've been doing when I'm talking about, I can add this person and do that.
Yeah, you're doing it.
You start doing it.
Yeah.
But I need to note it down.
Hopefully everyone saw the room kept getting bright every time you had like, ooh, light bulb moments.
That's why you enjoy doing these shows as well, because you see that happen with me. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Listen, thank you so much for joining us. I hope it's been useful. If you're watching back, of course, please do get in touch with the team here. Let me just put this up, is that we've got the website, OPTPS, Optical Professional Services, .co.uk, optps.co.uk. If it's Mike in particular, you've got Blaken at optps.co.uk. Get in touch with them. Well worth it, and they can advise you more specific about your situation and help guide you through these things, or confirm that you're on the right track, whatever it might be. And it's been a pleasure again. Thanks, Mike.
It's been good. Yeah, cheers, Chris.
It has. We'll see you next month for, what will that be? Episode 9. In fact, we're about to have a meeting and plan the next 3 episodes. So we'll be back with a whole raft of things that will hopefully be useful. If you have any ideas or requests of certain subject matters that you think would be really handy to go into with any members of the team here at Optimum, drop them a line, let them know, or you can let me know at Visual PR if you wanted to. But either way, it gives us content that we can be covering in more detail. It's there to try and hopefully help you all with more information, go into it in more detail, and not just in writing that you've got to sit there and read it all. It brings it to life. You can catch all of this again on Optimum's YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages, and you can get in touch any way you want. But for now, see you next time. Cheers.